Welcome, everyone, to Innovate You Dialogues. The purpose of Innovate You Dialogues is to build an inclusive community of women in STEM leaders and professionals who want to learn, share, and connect. I hope our audience will gain knowledge, new perspectives on the topics, and challenge in expanding their beliefs. They will also share their wisdom to enrich the community and drive personal and professional growth. Together with our guest speakers, we will amplify our voices, take bold actions, and create meaningful connections to create positive impact in the community and beyond. I'm Amy L., founder and executive coach of Innovate You and Fascinate Certified Advisor. So today I'm really excited to have Susie O'Neill with me. So Susie O'Neill is the founder of Tech Communications Consultancy EVA. She works with forward thinking leaders to build trust, so tech adoption works for people and business. She's a speaker, author, and writer on topics that includes frontier tech, cybersecurity, and women in AI, and shares weekly tech insights in her newsletter, Rethinking the Hype Cycle. Welcome, Susie. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thanks,
So, for,
Amy, and Kalispera from Athens, where I am this evening.
Excellent. Yeah, welcome. And you mentioned that it's like quite hot today, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not to make you too envious, it's not in a hot place.
Right. So, for our audience, if you have any questions, put it in the comment. We'll get to it by the end of this, or even after the event. So, feel free to share your thoughts after, the listening to this recording. Perhaps if you didn't make it today, and put it on the chat and on the comments. So we will come back to you for sure.
I always say there are no such thing as stupid questions, but there might be such thing as stupid answers. So ask away.
I love that. I love that. And now today our topic is about your leadership brand in the digital world, leveraging AI to amplifying your voice. In today's hyper digital world, your leadership brand is built in how you show up online, what you stand for, and how clearly people understand your value. And with Gen AI maturing, we now have the tools to help us to amplify that voice, but not only if we can just use them, but use them responsibly and effectively. So, Susie, let's dive in. Our, the first question I have for you, like, how do you define leadership brand? What does that mean to you?
Well, I actually started some of my own leadership journey when it felt a little bit like I was too young to do it. I was in my late 20s and I was in a situation where social media was really bubbling up. I'm quite old. I'm part of that first wave of people who actually built the webs. My first job was web developing when I was a young graduate in the very early days of this century. And then when social media came along, I was one of the Brits who really sort of jumped on that and said, this is the next wave. This is an exciting thing to do. And I was quite young at the time. I found myself in a situation, unwittingly, where I no longer was employed, but I was in this exciting space of being able to consult and advise and inspire people. And I didn't think at that time I could do it. I felt like I just didn't have the gravitas or the skills, but I got in there and I suddenly became in that community and lived in a small city. So that's a really good space as well to go out there and speak. And I would talk at universities and business events and really start to become known as an expert in social media. So I started that journey early on. And one of the courses I actually taught at the universities then was about personal branding. And I would work with local business people and also postgraduate students and help them make little videos with cameras to put on YouTube. And a lot of it is just about getting out there. No one starts out as an expert. You don't need to have a PhD to say, I'm an expert in this. And anyone can be an expert, but also anyone can be a leader. So you can lead in your own niche and area. It's not about your job title. It's not about how many years you've been doing it. But it's also about like the commitment and the passion that you can put into it. And AI is an amazing tool for helping research and dive deeply into the passions that you have. So anyone can be a leader. Don't wait for someone to direct you. A friend of mine said to me, I hear you're an AI consultant nowadays. You're an AI expert. I said, it's great. But I've been working in this space only for 1 year, whereas some people have PhDs. But I'm finding an angle that's not about just saying I know everything, but I'm carving a niche around how you communicate about AI, which is my background in content as a creative director and as a communicator. So it's finding an angle where your professional skills and experience or your degrees or your vocational training can play a role. But don't wait for permission to put yourself out there or to consider yourself to be a leader in your field.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Susie. I think I really resonate with the point being that you don't have to know everything before you start talking about it, start using it, start sharing it out, right? And it's a lot about like taking this, like some from your angle, like what you're great at, right? That your niche, and to bring that into the topic. And so, and also to like, you don't need the permission, right, to share it.
Mm.
And so much so, like I find out, especially for women, regardless of industry and what professions that you might be in, we always find ourselves like, oh, I need to do more study on this. Like I need to
Mm.
take another certification and so on. But you don't have to. And it because you can continue to enrich and learn from many different ways. Yes, if you wanted to take a certificate, that's great too. But I think to really stepping out there and start talking about it and sharing it. And that's how you build your brand. And to your point, leaders is no matter what levels or what position you hold, what title you hold, you can be a leader.
Yeah,
And I love
absolutely. Because I think the time we have now with AI, I see that very similar to the two waves I've been through of my
yeah.
storied long career in digital. So the Web 1 age, building websites, it was an
Yeah.
exciting, brave new world. I have to say it's a bit dystopian. It was a lot more optimistic in those days. We really felt we were building the future, but no one really knew. I mean, my first job title was web girl. People would ask me to fix their computer, and I was
Right.
coding websites. I didn't know what I was doing, but I put my hand up and said, I want to be in this industry
Yeah.
and I want to do
Yeah.
this. And social media, exactly the same.
Yeah.
So with AI, I mean, okay, if you're trying to say that you're going to become an AI ethicist or an advanced developer working in enterprise space, my gosh, yes, you need the formal qualifications and those PhDs. Don't kid yourself, and don't
Yeah.
you be part of selling the snake oil out there, which is I think what puts a lot of women off. But it's about finding an angle, because when it comes to say Gen AI tool adoption, there's not that many people who've been doing it much longer than you. And if you put in your hours and research and look into things and just test it, then you're already going to
Yes.
be a page further in the book than your boss might be. So then you become an expert in your team, or you could become an expert
Yeah.
in your organization. So you can build your own leadership capability in AI as an example, but in whatever niche or area you're
Yeah.
operating in, just by being a little bit further ahead with others. Don't feel that you need to have
Absolutely.
completed all the books and all the qualifications. You just need to be
Exactly.
a couple of pages ahead.
For sure. I love that. And now, like, how do you find yourself, like, clarifying what your leadership brand is about over the years? Like, does it change? Does it ever change? Or, like, it continues to evolve?
I think it continues to evolve. And actually, that's something I think as an individual, particularly when you're working with a coach like yourself, Amy, you often feel that it's a moment in time. You lock in your statements and that LinkedIn profile, or if you are an individual consultant, you start building a
Mm-hmm.
website and you do all that great messaging work. And I actually help organizations also with that messaging work, because sometimes for individuals it can be quite tough. But then at some point you might look at it and say, look, the world's changed, and particularly with AI really changing a lot of industry stats. Like my expertise was content marketing overlaid with technology. And it was actually as a result of a conversation I had with someone who was reverse mentoring me, someone that I used to be their boss, was saying, it's brand marketing. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be eroded by AI. And he was absolutely right. So it made me think, again, I don't need permission. I know more on the page because I've hosted a tech podcast for tech leaders. I knew a lot more about emerging and
Right.
advanced technologies, but I was no expert in that space. But I have put in the hours, so really studying, reading, and actually learning by doing. And as an individual, it will vary. So for me, my background is speaking and words, so I write. So every week I have the discipline of writing a quite complicated newsletter that has
Mm-hmm.
me tearing my hair out. Called Rethinking the Hype Cycle. But I've gathered together all these and weaved together all the insights and things that I've seen, and then I'm trying to apply a layer of insight over the top of that, not just shoving it
Right.
out there and putting it out there, because anyone can do that. And again, that's the
Mm-hmm.
difference between being an informational person, which is also fine if you're brilliant at writing and sharing, but having an angle, whether it's a tone of voice angle or a layer or a commentary, what does that mean for your industry and for your peers? that's how you can elevate yourself. So there are lots of great
Absolutely.
tools out there to gather all the information. I use a lot of AI tools to produce the newsletters that I do and market it to new
Mhm.
audiences. But ultimately, the insight bit is the bit where I switch off offline. And I read a brilliant thing the other day about we're full of noise. A horrible
Yeah.
piece of data was published by Microsoft saying the average person has 300% more meetings now than in 2020,
Oh,
which is like
scary.
25 hours. So you're just buzzing. It's like you're being
Yeah.
fueled with all these Slack alerts and noise. But to do thought leadership and to consolidate who you are as a leader, you need to find some deep work time. Somehow you need to do that. And that's hard for women. That can be really hard because often we have
Yeah.
caregiving duties and other
Yeah.
things to overlay. But it's about going away, get some post-it notes, go for a walk,
Yeah.
an old-fashioned pen and paper. Just go somewhere without any noise. But it's about really switching off and getting into this state of deeper thinking. And
Mhm.
ironically, AI is taking that away from us because we're getting used to quick information processing, quick answers, and quick
Exactly.
automation. Actually, thought
Right.
leadership is the opposite of that. So
Yeah.
I think I was writing
Absolutely.
about this and they promoted a post. Is it our friend or our foe, AI? Well, actually, it can be both.
Right.
So
I
thinking about how you
absolutely.
use it, having some methods. So, for example, if you do a
Mhm.
repeated task all the time, if you want to learn how to use a bit of AI, I'd say that's a super
Mhm.
important skill. But think about what you
Mhm.
automate, and it could be something in your day-to-day work or something in your family
Right.
life, like a complicated calendar you have to coordinate. And there are nice, lovely tools out there like Google
Yeah.
Notebook or
Mhm.
that was Zapier. You can zap and connect things together.
Right.
So I don't want to go into
Yeah.
tools because that's too
Sure.
obvious. But
Sure.
it's
That's
finding
gonna be
something
like
just finding something that's about you. So,
yeah.
Amy, you were mentioning
Um,
you
right.
built your own digital
Yeah.
twin
Right.
that you're launching as a virtual coach, and
Looking.
that's amazing. So,
Yes.
showing
Mhm.
how you're
Yeah.
using the technology,
Right.
and that helps you reach new audiences
Mhm.
that you might not have found before.
Yeah.
So I think there's lots of ways to just get stuck in with it. But the thing I
Yeah.
would really say about women who are tuning in is
Mhm.
I've wrote a piece and I've updated it a couple of times. It's become a bit of a mainstay. It's about the
Mhm.
gender gap in AI, both in the industry itself. So it's a
Yes.
fairly common trope, as you probably know,
Yeah.
Amy, that there's fewer women in general in the industry and
Mhm.
fewer in technical roles.
Right.
Um, as little as 20% in a lot of industries. But actually, when it comes to the AI tools and AI adoption in the workplace, women are also behind. Harvard Business
Yes.
Review study showed
Yeah.
25%. So you take two people doing the
Exactly.
same jobs as the same
Right.
grade, and women
Yeah.
are 25%. So 1 in 4 equivalent women are not going to be moving or progressing when employers
Mhm.
are saying that AI skills are mandatory now.
Yeah.
So think about how
Exactly.
much you'll be held back
Right.
if your fears are, some of the researchers show, so fears are people
Mhm.
think it's an imposter
Mhm.
syndrome. Personally,
Mhm.
I don't believe imposter syndrome
Absolutely.
exists. Just get on with it, okay? Don't let
We will
imposter
have
syndrome.
the topic on the other
Imposter
innovative
syndrome
dialogues.
is other
Yes.
people telling you
Yes.
you can't do it. You can do it. Just
If
get on
you
with it.
believe
Um,
in it. Yeah.
so there's a lot of fear that, and one of it is it's actually social conditioning we have at a young age. That the idea of
Mhm.
about being a good girl conditioning. That the good girl at school, she works hard, she doesn't
Yes.
cheat, she
Yeah.
does exactly what her professor tells her. And a study by the Norwegian Business School where they got men and women studying a business degree and started asking them to try
Mhm.
AI tools and then saying the professor's not going to let you do that. But the men
Mhm.
did it anyway and the women didn't. So the women are very
Yeah.
much more inclined to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want a tool that's going to
Yeah.
make me
Yeah.
lose control over words and
Yeah.
communication. But at some point, you might
Right.
need to do that in order to advance yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the point that you made about like knowing and understanding what the tools is great at, right? You don't use all the tools.
Mm.
You don't have to use all the tools for every task, but there are tools that can help you to simplify, to automate, and to get rid of those repetitive work. Definitely
Mm.
use those for, right? And then for the Gen AI, using that not just to replace what you wanted to say, not take over what your brand is about,
Mm.
but is to enhance it, right? Like you already done all those research, you have done your work, and you have put in thoughts to it, like to your point of, get that sink in and summarize it and do that while you're doing a walk outside or doing the post-it notes, however you like to do it. Summarize it and put your perspective on it, right? And
Mm.
put that spin on, and then that becomes it's yours. It's not just about like getting the information just on the internet. Like it's that you have put in your thoughts. And so then you can still have your voice and use the AI to help you to refine it, and using that tool to help you use less time to get to where you want it to be, like whether it's an article, whether it's a post, whether it's like a whole like a book, even for people that wanted to
Mm-hmm.
write a book. You can still leverage it. It's not to replace it, right? And use it wisely, right? And you don't want to just copy and paste, right? To your point, that you always bring in your thoughts to it. Then that way, then it's not cheating at all. Like you're just leveraging your tool, just like how we all use our phone today. We all use calendar to help us to organize our work. That's not cheating. Like you're using the tool for the right reason and the what it's designed for,
Yeah.
right?
100%. Now, what I would say is, I
Yeah.
know a caution on using a lot of copy. I would say
Hmm.
this perhaps as a, my craft is as a writer, but just be very careful and lean into the mediums for thought leadership that feel comfortable to you. So if you're not a native English speaker, perhaps writing long articles or blogs or even long LinkedIn posts, you might want to
Yeah.
lean into video or audio, which might be
Yeah.
more comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to do it, you have to be very consistent. So therefore, doing something you really enjoy and working in a medium where maybe you go through pain. I still go through pain writing and editing, but but then use those tools to help you with that final crafting. But what I do see out in the world, Amy, is what I call 50 shades of beige. And that it's everybody is doing this, like, and LinkedIn are terrible. LinkedIn is awful as a thought leadership platform. Sorry, the LinkedIn live. But what it's saying to you is, hey, do you want help? Do you want some AI help with that? It's like Clippy, from Microsoft
Yeah.
Clippy, if you're old enough to remember that. So we don't always need AI help to get us an idea. But I have
Hmm.
used, say, this is what I'm talking about. Here's some
Yeah.
research. Give me some topic
Right.
ideas. And it's
Yeah.
been really useful, and some
Yeah.
really rubbish first drafts that I've gone, you know what, that's awful. I'm starting again, but maybe I'll take a little snip, a headline, an idea to get you off the blank page.
Yeah.
But don't
Great.
feel that you need to write if that's not your medium. Just because it's easy to press play in Claude or ChatGPT, don't feel that you have to, because everyone is doing the same thing. So if you want to avoid being beige, you need to zig when they're zagging, do
Yeah.
something very different.
Yeah.
Whatever medium you
Right.
like. Also, don't be slave to that
Yeah.
algorithm, particularly on LinkedIn and
True.
Instagram. There's a lot of chasing of selfies and the sort of structure. I mean, look, I don't chase that. I'm a middle-aged lady
Hmm.
now, and I've
Hmm.
tried it from an comparative point of view. I've done
Right.
posts, some are videos, some of that. I'm looking at where does it actually get me real engagement, real conversations, real perspective for potential lead generation.
Right.
And it's not those
Right.
selfies. It's not those crying selfies or the trade selfies or the, oh, you can't believe what happened to me. It's not those posts, actually. They might get
Yeah.
you engagement, which is what LinkedIn wants you
Right.
to do. But it's
Right.
actually those deep pieces, like the piece about the women's gender AI gap.
Yeah.
Very few
Yeah.
comments, very got me a lot of interest because it was deep thinking and deeply
Yes.
researched, and it resonated with the right
Right.
people. So don't feel that chase the algorithm.
Yes.
Just do what you want to do and be really
Right.
consistent.
Yeah.
Don't worry about putting out a post and getting like 2 likes. Doesn't matter.
Yes.
Move on. It might get
Exactly.
better. It might actually get worse. But being consistent because you want to put your voice out there, and that's
Yeah.
important for you to consolidate your thoughts, your
Great.
career, and your leadership position. It doesn't even have to be every
So
day, but
true.
just be consistent with doing it and do
Yeah.
what you love. Don't, if you're hating doing it, stop doing it and try something else. I found podcasting. I wish I still had a podcast, but unfortunately, I knew how much work it was. But I love podcasting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you love podcasting and going on other people's podcasts or doing it
Hmm.
yourself. It could be
Yes.
comics, illustrations. There's
Yes.
millions of brilliant content formats, and one of them will
Yeah.
be the right one for you to communicate with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so your point being that consistency is key. And I've
Mm,
learned that too, right? Like throughout my careers, right? Like, how do you demonstrate that you have the capability? It's not because you have done a one off. It is because you consistently show up, consistently show that you are capable, and also like to do what you are passionate about. Because
mm,
it won't last if you don't like what you do, you don't love what you do, right? And the same for both of us, like that the work that we do is really meaningful and helping women in STEM,
mm.
helping women leaders, and that's where we love to do. That's why we are here, and that's definitely is a key aspect of like doing consistently what you love and not pushing yourself just to chase after numbers, chase
Mm.
after lights or the stats, right? And that those are not going to be meaningful. Like after, people will outgrow like and the numbers, and that would be a forever chasing game, and which we don't want to be in. And especially women, that we can focus our energy and doing a lot more good instead of trying to just get the numbers, right?
Mm.
Now, I know we already touched on some on how women like can grow their brand and not really to be authentic, right? As to your point that we need to be giving our voice, our using our thought leadership skills to put that out there instead of just trying to put whatever that we research and put it out there. We have to put our thought to it. Um, how much you see that nowadays, right? Like into the point being that how do you come not to come across as inauthentic if you use the AI tool, if you use the Gen AI to help you to create some articles, or even just to create a thought to provoke other people to think and have a
Mm.
talk with you, right? How do you do that? Like,
Yeah, good
what's the
question. Some
advice?
of that is about knowing yourself and your own voice. And you'll only know that again if you're earlier in your career. You'll only know that by doing it and then thinking,
Mm,
I feel comfortable being this edgy, or I like being more formal. Sometimes actually being a real deep dive person where you're the authority. That's not a leadership brand people talk about as much because it's not the keynote. But in a way, like with some of my work, I've gone and buried and gathered lots and lots of sources like a librarian, and pulled it together. And that's also a secret skill that can really get you positioned as an expert as well.
mhm,
So authenticity is going to be to do with how you show up at work, what is right for you and your
mhm.
personality. As we mentioned, the mediums that you're most comfortable communicating in. Try a few though. You don't really know
Yeah,
until you try.
right.
Um, I'm a musician, so I'm used to listening to my voice. So podcasting was easy, but a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like podcasting because I don't like the sound of my voice." But when you've done it a few times, you get over it. Get over yourself, ladies.
You get used to
Like,
it,
get
right? Like,
over the fact that
yeah,
maybe you're not as young as you like to
yeah,
be. You've got a few wrinkles or whatever. Haven't dyed your hair. Um, just get over it and think
yeah,
about the
yeah,
message beyond that and the magnetism, because the passion that you have for your topic
yeah,
is magnetic and people will be drawn to it, and that's the authenticity.
absolutely.
And with those AI tools for the writing, I do use them, but I'll just say my secret sauce. Bear in mind, I'm a writer and a first
Hmm.
native English speaker, so it's a little bit
Right.
easier for me. But
Yeah.
I will put a really crappy draft that I've monkeyed with typewriter,
Hmm.
and I will put it into the AI and say, "Can you help me edit this? Prune it." Then it will put its
Exactly.
own little annoying expressions like, "What's the twist?" Question mark. Whoever says
Right.
that? That's I put out the post for this. Then you say, I wouldn't say that. And then you read it
Mm.
out loud. Would I say that? If it's
Yeah.
particularly for social posts, articles,
Right.
you may want to be more formal. And then if it's in your corporate blog sphere,
Mm.
there's another layer there of your corporate book tone of voice.
Hmm.
But speaking out loud, would I say this? Do I like
Hmm.
emojis because they capture my spirit? Or are those diminishing and taking away from what I want to say? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
finding that what you feel is the right tone and style for you. But you're going to make
Hmm.
some mistakes, or you're going to put out some
Right.
things and think this doesn't feel quite right. That feels like
Yes.
too fake.
Yes.
You know?
Well, that's so much to unpack there. Like, and one of the key point that I picked out from this is speak it out loud. So hear what you see it from the response, like on what you get from the ChatGPT, for example. That is it really your voice, right? If it's not, then change it. Like, you don't have to follow that. Now, I know that we probably should extend this to like an hour and a half because like this is
That's
so
not right.
interesting.
There we
I
are.
love that this topic, and now maybe we can and to have another angle and to look at this. Now, some of that is about the tool, right? You mentioned about there's lots of tools out there that can help you, and now it's really changing the way that how we communicate, how we create, and how we lead
Mm.
as well. Now, how do we be able to amplify and not just diluting our voice? The question is like how we use Gen AI to express our thought leadership, to accelerate our visibility. Right? Is it something that we all now should all use because like the tool is there and everybody seems to be using it, and if we don't use it, are we missing out? How should leaders look at this?
The leadership, that's a big question. I'd love to do a topic on like that kind of AI adoption around leaders and individuals with you another time. But the main thing is that we need to, if you are leading, you need to encourage the people in your team to have access to the tools and actually use them, right? But at an organizational level, we're seeing very, very poor formal training adoption routes. So that's very sad. It makes me sad every time I pull out the data. But ultimately, as individuals, we also need to take some accountability, because it's not necessarily down to the employer. So there are plenty of free tools out there.
Right.
I rarely buy a paid tool. I flipped between them to test them and use them for different purposes. But there's an awful lot on the writing side, particularly in the image creation side, that you can do just using free versions to test and use them. So it's just getting your hands a little bit dirty, trying out what feels right.
Okay.
A lot of people are using, latest researchers, a lot of the younger people are using AI as a confidant and as an advisor. So we'll start to see that trend as people come into the workplace. As we used to talk about digital natives, we might find AI natives joining the workforce. And that'll be a new way of thinking. Particularly, it's going to impact how people work with coaches and how they get their mentoring and advice. So certainly the world is going to change whether you like it or not. Are you ready to just dip your toe in? But I always say, do not believe the hype. That's why my newsletter's called Rethinking Hype. It's crazy, the hype. And there's always like a lot of billionaires out there making a lot of money, Sam Altman, building up their brands and saying this is going to destroy every job in every industry. It has a lot of people afraid. And unfortunately for women, maybe not so much women in STEM, but a lot of women's roles and careers, which are heavily administrative led and data processing led, which is exactly what AI does, are going to be put at risk. So it's up to you to empower yourself. Please put that you have AI skills on your CV, ladies, when you apply for jobs. Men will do it regardless of what they know. If you don't do it, you won't be in the game. So get testing, find some use cases, and speak it out loud to help you progress your careers.
Right, great point there. Like, put it on your CV that however little or like a lot that you know about this topic, like, and use how do you leverage it, and you make sure that you start testing it out, right? And like just do a little bit and at a time, and you don't have to overwhelm yourself, and you don't have to compare how much others have done, or like you're never behind. Like, you just start now, right? Like, that you can just start to educate yourself on how you can use it, how to leverage that, and be out there and talk about it, right? And it's okay to not know everything yet, and because nobody knows everything. Like, this field is evolving so quickly, and so just about like getting in and then starting working and doing a little bit of it every day, right? I love that, and because time is the essence, I wanted to really ask you about your insights on how do you predict in the next couple of years, right, on how the digital presence is going to change for women leadership in particular, and how do you stay ahead of the curve, even though we touch on, okay, start learning it now, start being out there and say it out loud that you're using it. How else, like, do you think, what is going to happen? Like, it's what you see.
Well, we're seeing it move faster than anyone even predicted when ChatGPT was launched, like 2.5 years ago. But bear in mind, there's still a lot of hype. A lot of businesses aren't seeing the benefits. So again, like getting started and going with it and being vocal about it, you're not behind the curve. You are really not. You are probably right at still in the early adopter phase right now. But what we will see, this whole movement towards agentic AI, it's a little bit crappy at the moment, but it'll get better. What agentic AI is whole systems that can connect together and complete tasks. So you as an individual in your role need to be thinking about, where is this space in between that isn't about data processing, where you can add value. A lot of it's that human connection, that insight, drawing the dots, or very, very advanced knowledge, like super level knowledge. So there's a really interesting article that I quoted in my last newsletter by Sanjeet Cowdery, which talks about the puffer fish. And that's the thing you get in a Japanese restaurant. And it becomes so delicate, it's so hard to get it, but it would poison you if it's not prepared in the right way. So this real value came from this really, really specific skill. And he sort of draws that into saying, data processing was super boring, but now people who really understand data and how to label it, they're in high demand because of AI. So there's lots
Exactly.
and lots of skills that you might have, or maybe able to lean on, or thinking where the curve is going. There are some pretty scary reports out there by people like Goldman Sachs, and I do cover all of these in my newsletter when they come out. Don't be too afraid of them, because they're all hyping for their own nefarious reasons to sell. The only people making money from AI right now are the big ticket consultancies, like your Forrester, your Boston Consulting Group, because they're selling hype around it.
I
And
see.
everybody else is
Yes.
losing money or being confused. So again, you as an individual, don't get too
Right.
fearful in that. And one of the best posts I saw lately was a woman who owns her own business, and she said, like, in this age of AI hype, going hard on this AI first, everyone's going to adopt it. You've got to become more 50, 60% more efficient. By the way, that really doesn't work. You might become a tiny bit more efficient. If
So
you're
true.
processing
Yeah.
meeting notes all
Yeah.
day, yeah, you're going to be super efficient. If you're doing anything
Yeah.
that isn't processing meeting notes all day, like sales
Right.
calls, your world is quite
Absolutely.
complicated, probably. But anyway, what she said was that the time now is not to go hard on AI hype, particularly if you're a leader, is to calm the ships. We're dealing with a
Sure.
lot of stress in the world,
Yeah.
with conflict,
Yeah.
particularly in the States at the moment. It's your job to calm people, not to throw fear at them. So this is
Yes.
why I would always encourage this more gentle adoption of new technologies. And that's why
Yes.
I work with businesses to inspire them and get them excited, because fear
Yes.
is a real problem with new technology.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if you're leading with people, get involved yourself, but don't try and frighten
Yeah.
them, or make
Right.
kind of
Right.
ultimatums about what you
Yeah.
expect AI to do, because
Yeah.
ultimately you're going to really alienate people and probably not meet those objectives
Sure,
either.
sure. Yeah. So it's really key to remove that fear and help your people to learn it and just pick it up on like in a steady pace, right? Like, and just learn along the way, learn with them, and just don't
Ideally
think
with
that
some
you need to
formal
know.
training, ideally. And there
Absolutely.
are, but again,
Yeah.
like a lot of companies are behind.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Heather Murray is a really good person to follow. She's based in my part of
Mm.
the world, in the middle of
Right.
England. And she has very, very good, insightful, easy to understand tips that she shares. And she does
Yeah.
formal training courses as well.
Right.
There are
Right.
many other trainers perhaps in your town as
Yes.
well, who come and do things face to face or online with you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, if your employer isn't going to empower you, maybe you need to invest a little bit yourself in
Yeah.
training or tools, or just
Yeah.
time. If you don't have money, it's fine as well. There's lots of different resources out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. I think like empowering yourself is always the key. Like, don't wait for somebody else to give you and hand it over to you, which is never going to happen. I love to continue this dialogue, but we're looking at the time that
No
we are
time.
already
Wow,
past
it's flown
time.
by.
Yeah, it's flying by so quickly. I definitely want you to come back, and we're going to deep dive into some of these as well. Now, I'm looking and checking if there is any of the comments here, not yet, but feel free, like, if you're listening back to the recording, and pop in and just put in your comment or your questions in the comment there. Susie and I will definitely come back to respond as well. This is so rich. Like, thank you so much. I love this. Like, on a Friday, I just keep my thoughts thinking, and the way that, how I have mentioned to you that I'm looking and working on my own AI coaching agent as well, is to just to have a taste and try to do this. Like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know exactly how it will turn out, how it would be complementing my work or not for now. But I wanted to try it. I wanted to learn. I wanted to see how it's going to impact and what other values I can bring it to my clients. So therefore, I need to lean in. Like, and with the technology background that I have, like, this is something to be testing it out now, not waiting for another 2 years
Yeah.
and whatnot, right? And so this
What's the
is
most amazing
really,
about a lot of this technology is you can code without
yeah,
being a coder. Even you can do this code.
exactly,
So this is something I'm thinking about. Like, can
exactly,
I be brave enough, having never coded, to do some vibe coding, just to see what it's
absolutely,
like, and just see where it takes
absolutely,
you. And we can be
yes,
playful as well. I love the idea of
very
your
much,
Amy bot.
yeah,
It's a playful way of
yes,
exploring
right,
what you know,
yeah,
and testing it in a new medium. And I think that can also help you get
absolutely,
exposure. I've certainly
yeah,
seen experts in a number of different fields
yes,
creating their kind of digital twin versions of themselves.
right,
It might be a
right,
novelty just for
yeah,
now, but maybe actually when
yeah,
the technology
yeah,
evolves, there become meaningful ways that you can split yourself into many numbers
Definitely,
and serve
right?
more people and
So
more customers, and that's hugely
exactly.
exciting stage.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not to replace me, it's just to extend more where I can
Mm,
reach, like how many people more I can help, right? And so this is wonderful, and thank you so much for your insights, Lucy. I'm really enjoying this.
a great pleasure,
Now,
Amy.
a final, so you don't need to be louder, right? You need to be more clear, like, and using
Mm,
technology, using the Gen AI can help you to do that, but with your mindfulness on like what you want it to deliver, what is your message that is making your brand, that to stand out. Now, for our audience, like if you're hearing this now, like or watching the recording, share one thing that you can take next week. Do one thing that you can do next week to amplify your brand. And now, thank you so much for joining today, and
yeah.
thank you so much, Susie, for joining me and to deliver this like insightful, innovate you dialogues. And if you have any takeaway and you want to share on the chat, please do so. If you listen to the recording, do comment and let us know how you like this and what else you like to, Susie to share with us
Mm.
next time. I definitely want her to come back
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well.
And if anyone wants to
Yeah.
connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. It's
Yes,
actually a subscription model, my
for
newsletter, and
sure.
I will give anyone listening to
Yeah.
this podcast a 3-month free trial.
Oh, excellent. Thank you
Recommend,
so much, Susie.
yeah.
So don't forget to subscribe to her
Yeah,
newsletter
subscribe,
and
message
follow
me,
her.
and I will set up your free subscription.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that our audience know that. So if you're ready to amplify your impact and schedule time with me to explore our partnership to help you overcome the barriers and unlock your potentials and amplify your leadership voice. Thank you so much, Susie, and have a great
Thanks.
weekend, everyone. Bye.